the permeability experiment. And what I've done, I have a video of me doing this setup with the 3 different materials, with a fine sand, coarse sand, and then the soil, right? And so the whole idea is, after I gathered this equipment, I put the cotton swab in there in the funnel. I filled it with the sand. I did all 3 at once. Then I poured 50 milliliters of water into each, and I timed how quickly the water percolated through the materials, right? And then I collected that water in a beaker underneath, right? Kind of like the little experiment shows here. And then after the entire 50 mils or entire water has dripped through here, obviously some stays in the sand, right? Because of the cohesion there between the sand grains or the material. I took that, whatever drained out here, and poured it back into the graduated cylinder to record the final amount that drained through. So basically, you're going to, for this experiment, you're recording how long it took for the water to percolate through the materials. You're recording this table here, and then at the end, how much water actually went through. And so let's take a look at the videos on that next. So for activity 8.2 on the permeability and infiltration activity for this week, I have some fine sand here, coarse sand, and some soil. And the lab doesn't mention how many or what amount of these materials to use. So I'm going to use about 60 milliliters. So you can see I have it about 6 milliliters of each. And then over here I've already set up the funnels here, right? So each funnel will have a little cotton, you see the little cotton ball down there. So for each of these, I'm going to place the fine sand, coarse sand, and the soil, and then we'll run the permeability experiment. Okay, now I have the setup where I've placed the 60 milliliters, about 2/3 full, it does say, of materials, the fine sand, the coarse sand, and the soil over here. And then I have 50 milliliters in each graduated cylinder here, which I'm going to pour into each of these. Then I have these timers down here. So what I'll do, I'll pour the water. In fact, let's do the first one here, and then I'll start the timer. So I've poured the water in. You can see here's the fine sand. I've started the timers down here. You can see the coarse sand is going to have the higher permeability because it's draining more quickly. Now we're finally getting some drips off the fine sand there, and then the soil seems to also have a high permeability. So we'll let this run. Got the timers going, and then I'll shut them off, and you can record those times when we're done. So I stopped the timer on the coarse sand because after a minute and 40 seconds, basically, it's all drained through. Next thing I'll do, on to see how much volume we actually got when I'll pour it back into the graduated cylinder. We'll do that in a moment, but meanwhile we'll wait for the fine sand. You can see there's still some water in here. It hasn't really completely drained. And then our soil is still dripping. So we'll give these a couple more minutes here and see, or hopefully less than 2 more minutes, and we'll see how long they take. Okay, now I've stopped the soil because the soil sample has stopped draining, and then the time there is 2 minutes 48 seconds. That'll be the time for the soil. Now I'm going to see, because in our lab you'll see that they want us to record not just the time, but also how many milliliters were collected in the beakers, right? So over here we'll do the coarse sand first. All right, class, now I'm back onto the PDF. Somehow the last video of me measuring out the millimeters that drained through the materials, it didn't record the way I wanted it to, but I did get the data. So the final data you need is that for the coarse sand, remember it was a minute and 39 seconds. So if they wanted in seconds, so it's 60 seconds plus 39, so that'd be 99 seconds. So what you should do for the fine sand and the soil here, convert the 5 minutes 7 seconds into just seconds, right? So you're gonna have to take 5 times 60 to give you the seconds and add 7 to that. Same thing with the soil. You take 2 times 60 seconds, right? And then add 48 to give you the total seconds here. And then these are the final volumes. So you can see that the soil seemed to allow the most amount of water permeability to go through, whereas a fine sand had the least, right? And the coarse sand is somewhere in the middle. So now with these data, you'll be able to answer the following questions. So good luck. And again, if you have any questions, just send me an email.